coming up on Arirang News. As the annual monsoon season begins, South Korea is under the influence of its seasonal rain, starting in the country's southern region. Jeju Island is seeing heavy downpours, prompting authorities to be on alert against any possible damage. The release of Japan's Fukushima wastewater appears to be imminent, as reports say the country has completed an underwater tunnel that it will use to discharge the water from the destroyed nuclear power plant. The Korean government says the discharge is one of a few realistic solutions, but has reiterated on proving its safety first. Over the weekend, the Wagner group proceeded towards Moscow, threatening the Russian leadership. The leaders of the US and Ukraine held phone talks to discuss the ongoing tensions. Good evening, it's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We start with the weather, a concern for many here in South Korea around this time of the year. As the annual monsoon season begins, the southern regions, including Jeju, are hit by heavy rainfall. No major damage has been reported so far, but it's keeping the authorities on high alert. Our Shin Se-byuk reports.
Heavy rainfall is drenching South Korea. The monsoon season began on Monday with southern regions of the mainland and Jeju Island first hit by torrential downpours. From Sunday to 7 a.m. Monday, Jeju saw 50 to 200 millimeters of rain, with parts of Hallasan Mountain on the resort island receiving as much as 226 millimeters. The rain is continuing to move northward, bringing heavy downpours to central regions.
The capital region is seeing on and off heavy downpours of 20 to 40 millimeters of rain per hour. The weather agency says the rain will continue until Tuesday afternoon as a low pressure system moves through.
Other regions across the country are also receiving up to 40 millimeters of rain per hour. Those seeing particularly heavy rains are Gyeongsangbuk-do province, where heavy rain alerts are issued as of 5 p.m. Korea time. Such downpours across the nation have prompted the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasure Headquarters to issue Level 1 of the emergency response, which is the lowest of the three-tier system that can be taken during a natural disaster. The Safety Authority has also raised its alert level from attention to caution. There haven't been major casualties or damages reported yet, but the government is taking preemptive measures. President Yoon Suk-yeol has begun working in emergency mode to monitor possible damage during the monsoon season. Also last weekend, Yoon instructed relevant authorities to thoroughly prepare for damage such as flooding in below-ground level homes and underground parking lots. According to the Korea Meteorological Administration, the rain will taper off starting Tuesday afternoon, but before that, most regions will see heavy rains of 20 to 40 millimeters per hour accompanied by gusts, thunder, and lightning. Those in the southern regions and Jeju Island will see particularly heavy rains of 40 to 60 millimeters. The central region, including the capital area, will have sporadic showers at times. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
Japan's release of wastewater from Fukushima is drawing closer, as reports say the underwater tunnel to be used to discharge it has been completed. Our political correspondent Han Sung-woo has the latest.
The underwater tunnel that Japan is planning to use this summer to release wastewater from its destroyed Fukushima nuclear power plant is now complete. According to Fukushima Central Television, excavators used to dig the tunnel for a pipeline were removed Monday morning with the help of a large crane. The completion comes after a one-day delay, as the Tokyo Electric Power Company suspended the withdrawal on Sunday due to high seas. Japan's Nuclear Regulation Authority is scheduled to conduct a final check on Wednesday to ensure that all facilities for the wastewater release function properly.
TEPCO began a trial run of those facilities, including the 1 kilometer-long underwater tunnel, on June 12th. As far as we know, that test run will likely conclude tomorrow on Tuesday.
It's widely expected Japan will discharge the wastewater treated by its advanced liquid processing system after the International Atomic Energy Agency clears it with a soon-to-be-released report on the issue. Public anxiety over the safety of the wastewater release lingers in South Korea, though, prompting the government to hold daily weekday briefings since June 15th in an effort to keep the people updated and informed on what will happen moving forward. Fielding questions on Monday, First Vice Minister of Government Policy Coordination, Park Gu-yeon, told reporters that the currently adopted method of releasing the wastewater into the sea was final. He added that reversing the plan to go back to the stage of negotiating other methods of disposal with Japan and the international community, such as solidifying the water, was not an option at this point.
The current plan of discharging the water was finalized following discussions with the IAEA after it was judged to be the most realistic given safety considerations and scientific precedents.
한성우, Arirang News.
The leaders of South Korea, the U.S., and Japan are seeking to hold a trilateral summit in Washington this summer. According to Japan's Asahi Shimbun on Monday, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, U.S. President Joe Biden, and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida are coordinating to meet at the end of August. They're likely to discuss North Korea's nuclear and missile development. This came as Biden invited Yoon and Kishida to a summit during the three leaders' brief meeting held on the sidelines of the G7 summit last month. The top nuclear envoys of South Korea and the U.S. agreed to closely cooperate in communicating with China when it comes to North Korean nuclear issues. This came during phone talks on Monday between Kim Gon, South Korea's representative for peace and security affairs in the Korean peninsula, and his U.S. counterpart Sung Kim. They discussed Pyongyang's denuclearization and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's recent trip to China. Both envoys also pledged to urge China to play a constructive role in addressing the nuclear issue. The two envoys explored ways to deter North Korea's nuclear and missile program, financing through cryptocurrency theft and overseas workers. Food prices are rising higher than a rise in disposable incomes. It's no exception for ramyeon, one of the food items deemed very affordable in Korea. Our Lee Soo-jin has what's causing the problem.
Trips to the supermarket are putting a dent in consumers' wallets as food prices continue to rise. According to Statistics Korea on Monday, prices of ramyeon during the first quarter of 2023 surged more than 12%, the highest in 15 years since the 2008 global financial crisis. In September last year, South Korea's #1 instant noodle company by sales, Nongshim, raised its prices by more than 11%. This was followed by price hikes that reached nearly 10% for another major instant noodle maker, Palto, and 11% for Ottugi just 1 month later. The government and consumers are both paying close attention to ramyeon prices, as ramyeon is considered to be one of South Korea's main affordable staple food items. With international wheat prices now around 50% lower than they were when those companies hiked prices, Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho appeared on TV screens last week, where he urged companies to lower instant noodle prices. Consumers have also begun to voice their complaints.
I used to eat a lot of ramen, but since prices have gone up, I tend to eat it less often.
Data from Statistics Korea shows that average monthly disposable income rose 3.4% compared to the 12% rise in consumer prices of ramyeon. Other affordable supermarket items such as snack foods surged more than 13% and ice cream nearly 12% over the same period. The rise in the price of ice cream is also the highest since the second quarter of 2009. The price increase for bread fell slightly but remained high at 14.3% in the first quarter after passing 15% during the fourth quarter of last year. According to an expert, however, consumers may still be able to see prices of some staple food go down.
As international grain prices have gone down and are stabilized, it would make sense for companies to reduce ramen prices in around 3 to 6 months.
Consumers may then be able to purchase cheaper ramen in the second half of the year. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Korea ranks 17th worldwide for logistics performance. According to the World Bank's Logistics Performance Index, which measures a country's ability to move goods across borders with speed and reliability, Korea made it onto the top 20 for the first time. It follows other Asian counterparts like Singapore, which tops the list, and Hong Kong, which ranks 7th, and Japan as well as Taiwan in 13th place. Korea witnessed notable scores for customs performance, coming in 7th, and logistics infrastructure at 9th amid its AI-based procedures and upgraded facilities. And South Korea's relative poverty rate among senior citizens is the highest among OECD member states. A report published by Statistics Korea said on Monday that the relative poverty rate of those aged 66 or older in 2019 was at 43.2%. South Korea was the only OECD country with a rate exceeding 40%. The relative poverty rate is the proportion of the population living at or below 50% of the median income. As of 2021, the proportion of elderly citizens continuing to work to earn a living has also increased to 65%, 13.4 percentage points higher compared to a decade ago. A new task force under the Prime Minister's office will comprehensively manage and support foreign workers in South Korea. This comes as President Yoon Suk-yeol saw the need for more collective and flexible measures to tackle the country's labor shortage, discussing proper measures with Prime Minister Han Duck-soo on Monday. While visas are granted by the Justice Ministry, different ministries are responsible for managing and supporting workers from different industries. The government is reportedly looking to create an immigration agency, but this would require a revision to the current Government Organization Act and would take a bit of time. Over in the Middle East this past weekend, Korea's Hyundai Engineering and Construction sealed a major deal worth $5 billion with state oil producer Aramco for a petrochemical plant in Saudi Arabia. Our Moon Hae-ryun has details.
South Korea's construction orders in the Middle East are booming. According to the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, South Korean construction firm Hyundai Engineering and Construction signed a major petrochemical plant construction contract on Saturday with Saudi Arabia's Aramco. The $5 billion project is the largest order a South Korean company has won from Saudi Arabia to date, bringing the total of overseas construction orders in the first half of the year to $13.7 billion. This tops the $12 billion recorded in the first half of last year. Hyundai E&C will be responsible for the construction of a mixed feed cracker plant to produce ethylene as well as storage and support facilities. South Korea came out on top despite the fierce competition with the Infrastructure Ministry's formation of the One-Team Korea support team for overseas orders and the diplomatic meeting between the minister and Aramco CEO back in March. The South Korean government has been concentrating its efforts on partnerships with Middle East nations in various fields such as defense, IT, and renewable energy, as well as petrochemicals as it looks to improve its weakened exports following the global economic downturn. To keep up this momentum, experts say that cooperation between companies will be crucial.
In order to put the trade balance and overseas construction orders in the black, South Korean companies will need to share relevant information to prevent cutthroat competition in its diversifying market.
President Yoon Suk-yeol commented on Sunday that this latest endeavor will strengthen economic cooperation between South Korea and Saudi Arabia. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Danish wind turbine producer Vestas Wind Systems will move its Asia-Pacific headquarters from Singapore to Seoul in September. The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy said Monday that the company will begin the construction of a large-scale turbine parts plant in the first half of next year that will produce key equipment for wind turbines to be exported to the entire Asia-Pacific region. Its president and CEO Henrik Andersen announced the decision as he met with South Korea's industry minister Lee Chang-yang in Seoul. The CEO is reportedly on his trip to South Korea to discuss details of its investment plan worth $300 million. Over in Russia, watchers say the short-lived rebellion of the Wagner group has put a dent in Putin's reputation. Our foreign affairs correspondent Choi Min-jung explains how this will affect the Ukraine war.
Over the weekend, Russian leader Vladimir Putin saw one of the most serious challenges to his authoritarian rule to date. Wagner Group mercenaries who were proceeding rapidly toward Moscow suddenly halted their advance on Sunday after their safety was guaranteed under a deal allegedly mediated by Belarus. Although bloodshed was avoided, analysts say Putin was left looking diminished.
I think Putin emerges from this significantly weakened. I think if you're a member of the Russian elite, or in fact a member of the Russian population, you're going to look at this and think, wow, a private army just drove on Moscow for most of the day. No one stopped them, and they're allowed to leave and no real consequences.
One analyst says that the march is a win for Ukraine, as Russia's military leadership will not know which paramilitary troops will be trusted to put into the fight against Ukraine.
Easiest and clearest conclusion, though, out of everything that we've witnessed is that Ukraine is on the winning end of this equation. Russia is in turmoil from the political leadership, the military leadership at the senior echelons don't know who to trust.
The Wagner Group has left for Belarus, but much remains unclear as to what will happen to the group and its leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin.
For Wagner, this looks like it might be the end. I would think a lot of people, including Putin, will be rather angry with what we saw here. And Putin often holds a grudge. Him being dead, in a few weeks or months is also not out of the question, and many options in between.
U.S. President Joe Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky held talks over the phone on Sunday to discuss the revolt. Zelensky told Biden that the rebellion had exposed the weakness of Putin's regime. The Wagner Group threatened the Russian leadership over the weekend by getting within 200 kilometers of Moscow before turning back. It had accused Russia of mishandling the war in Ukraine and opening fire on its troops. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
On the football field this past Sunday, Team Korea defeated Thailand 4-1 in the quarterfinals of the Under-17 Asian Cup to advance into semifinals. This also means Korea has secured a pass to the Under-17 World Cup. The young Taeguk Warriors scored twice in the first half and twice in the second half to take the game from Thailand. Yoon Do-young and Kim Myung-jun were both on the score sheet and shared the lead for the most goals scored in the tournament with 4. Korea faces the winner of the Saudi Arabia and Uzbekistan match in the semifinals on Thursday. BTS member Suga has wrapped up his world tour with the final concerts taking place in Seoul over the weekend. Suga's August D tour, D-Day in Seoul concerts took place at Jamsil Indoor Stadium on Saturday and Sunday, with around 15,000 fans in attendance. His performances in the South Korean capital wrap up his 2-month journey, during which he entertained 290,000 fans in 10 different cities around the world. Toward the end of the last concert, Suga made a surprise announcement that there will be an encore concert at the K-SPO Dome, also in Seoul, this coming August. Aging is a natural part of life, and doctors say there are habits that help to make the process more healthy. Now, these habits are no secret, and our Kim Jung-sil takes time to remind us.
From early in the morning, Professor Shin Jin-young is busy looking after patients. She and her research team at Konkuk University Medical Center recently found out that there are certain characteristics of aging shared by Korean people.
For people in South Korea, it's vital that one has physical and mental stability. And recently, we found out that social interaction within the community is very important for one's aging. This is not just in South Korea, but also in other Eastern Asian countries.
Professor Shin said simply eating together with neighbors could help senior citizens reduce depression and anxiety. Speaking of eating, though, what should we eat? And the answer is eat less.
The excess amount of calories we consume makes fat build up in our liver. That's why I tell my patients to generally eat a little bit less if possible.
Another key factor for healthy aging, exercise.
At around 70 years of age, our muscles decline about 20% from when we were in our 30s. We also naturally gain body fat and become insulin resistant. And the only way to avoid these changes known so far is through exercising.
Here at the Konkuk University Sports Medical Center, many people are exercising in the early morning. Kim Dong-hyun has been working out for about a year.
I'm exercising to stay healthy, and my body feels lighter and younger after working out.
Other than eating healthy and socializing, experts say physical exercise can also improve cognitive function. One of the world's most renowned experts in healthy aging, Dr. Charles Brenner, recently visited South Korea and said it's important to keep our feet on the ground when it comes to anti-aging.
There's some people that have some unrealistic expectations that they're not going to age at all. I don't think that that's realistic, but I think that you can age better.
He added that mom's advice is the key, meaning good nutrition, good physical and mental activity, social engagement, and avoiding smoking, drinking, and overeating. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
A monsoonal rain front will drop frequent showers across the country. Local downpours will vary depending on the region. For tonight, central regions and Gyeongsang-Bukdo province will see heavy rainfall. For these regions, locally heavy downpours of 20 to 40 millimeters per hour are expected. By tomorrow, parts of the south and Jeju Island will see downpours of 40 to 60 millimeters per hour. The monsoonal rain front is currently stretched across the south of the country. Jeju Island will see up to 200 millimeters. In the regions, including the Seoul area, we'll see 30 to 100. Showers will temporarily ease off tomorrow evening. Heavy downpours may lead to flooding and landslides, especially for low-lying regions. Please take extra precautions beforehand. Under rainy spells, Seoul and Chuncheon will start off at 21 degrees. Highs in Seoul get up to 28 degrees, Gwangju 30, Daegu and Gyeongju will be topping out at 32 degrees. The entire nation will see rain until this Friday. The south of the country will see showers continuing into the weekend. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all for tonight's newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with the latest news tomorrow. Have a good night.